I want to wrap up the sermon series that I've been in on When Your Rivers Run Dry. But I'm not going to preach a long sermon at all because I want us to lean into our fellowship time, eating together, witnessing to our neighbors. And so I won't preach long. As a matter of fact, put this down in the record book. I only have a 2-point sermon, and so it's going to be very brief. But I want to share with you out of 1 Kings chapter 18. In 1 Kings chapter 18, the 20th verse, we find, so Ahab sent for all the children of Israel and gathered the prophets together on Mount Carmel. And Elijah came to all the people and said, "How long will you falter between two opinions? If the Lord is God, follow him. But if Baal, follow him." But the people answered him not a word. Tell somebody at your watch party, get off the fence. I want to tag this and preach very briefly about getting off the fence. Family, and there's going to be a homework assignment when I'm done preaching. Procrastination, indecision. Grab this. Procrastination and indecision are enemies of growth and advancement. When we don't move, indecision and delay, grab this, indecision and delay are the parents of failure. As a matter of fact, even as we unpack this issue of our Mental Health Awareness Month, indecision has been linked to people feeling more anxious. Indecision is linked to people being more depressed. Indecision is linked to people experiencing more self-doubt. Indecision is linked to people that think with greater negativity. I want to challenge us today to do our mental health a favor, but to do all of the purpose and plan that God has for your life, all the potential that's in your life, and get off the fence. I believe as I preach and as we are at our watch parties, I believe that there are things that God is calling us to do, but we won't move. Things that God wants us to involve ourselves in. But we are faltering, halting, we are struggling between two opinions. We can't make up our minds. And not just about God. I'm going to preach about that in a minute, but can I park here for a moment and say, make up your mind about people. I mean, if you're for them, be for them. If you're not going to be for them, don't be for them. But land somewhere. Get off the fence. And so that's what I want to deal with. And so go with me for a moment to the mountain. The writing of 1 Kings chapter here, chapter 18, verses 20, all the way down through the end of the chapter, we find the prophet Elijah at the mountain. We find him standing at the mountain, and we find him at a pivotal moment in his life. Let me give you the surroundings of this mountain. This is not some mundane, ugly kind of environment. It's not that at all. When you look at where he is, y'all, he's at the summit, the top of Mount Carmel. And when you get your bearings and you look northwards, you can see the snow-capped mountains of Mount Hermon in the distance. When you begin looking over to your left, you see in the distance the deep, beautiful waters of the Mediterranean Sea. When you go over by the brook Kishon, you see that the brook Kishon has been dried up because there's now been a drought for 3 years. And then beyond the stretches of the valley, the valley of Esdraelon, where the garden of ancient Palestine is and where the battle of Armageddon will be fought, we see all of this taking place at the mountain. And all of this dryness, all of this warring is in response to the prayer of Elijah the prophet. No rain has fallen for 3 years. The river is dry. People are panicking. And they gather now hundreds of priests of the pagan god Baal. And here they are, one man, Elijah, determining the possibility of if the drought can now be broken. I want to minister to some brothers, but this is going to minister to some women too. the whole weight of the nation was on one man. Have you ever felt like all the weight of your family was on you? You ever felt like if I don't get this thing right, it won't get right? Have you ever felt like everybody's looking at me, waiting to see what I'm going to do? And if I don't get this right, this should minister to somebody. I got to make sure that I'm doing what God wants me to do the way he wants me to do it, because the reality of it, innocent people are relying on us getting it right. So here he is, y'all, and he says to the people now, I'm tired of y'all acting like God is not God. If he is God, serve him. And if he's not God, serve Baal. But choose somebody. They were just simply people staying on the fence. I want to lift up 2 points very quickly about this. As we reflect upon our lives, the first thing that I want us thinking about is, number one, tell your neighbors you need to choose. That's number one. I got to choose. And I want you to understand something. God puts 2 choices in front of him. Elijah says, you can either choose the Lord or you can choose Baal. He was calling the people to make a choice, not between him and Ahab, but between God and Baal. So God's requirements are very simple. He demands that he must be first place in every area of our lives. He knows that he has made us. God made us, so he knows how he made us. He knows that he has made us to have relationship with someone more than us. He knows that all men must have some kind of God. Either I'm going to have a big G God or I'm going to have a little g God. And so he says, choose. He says, choose between God. And I want to just park here for a moment, y'all. When I say who our God is, this is what I mean. Our God is the thing or the person, because it all depends on who your God is. Our God is the thing or the person which we think most precious. He is the one for whom we would make the greatest sacrifice, who moves in my heart with the warmest love. He is the person or the thing that if I lost it, it would leave me desolate. Martin Luther said, whatever we make the most of is our God. He gives them 2 choices. Y'all, it's the same 2 choices we have. We can choose God or we can choose the little gods. The children of Israel, they had the Canaanites, Baals of gluttony, drunkenness, ritual prostitution. And in our society, we have gods like the gods of sex and shekels, that means money, and stomach, that means food. The gods of pleasure and possessions and position. The gods of just having fun and this is going to get tight. Sometimes we even make a god out of our family. Ooh. Anything that I place ahead of God becomes an idol and my God. You can put God first in everything. Everything we do, we can put God first in. Y'all, if the thing that I'm doing is taking me away from God and not bringing me closer to God, then it runs the risk of being an idol. And let me tell you why we struggle with making a choice. That's my first point. You got to choose. Get off the fence. Let me tell you why we struggle with choosing, real quick. One reason we struggle with choosing is because some of us have not been delivered from being a people pleaser. Uh-oh. Y'all, see, people pleasing will have us stuck in indecision. Because inevitably, I may wind up choosing something that they wouldn't choose. Some of us will make a choice that our best friend would not choose, and then we get concerned that I might lose my best friend. And so because I'm more interested in pleasing them than pleasing God, I may get myself stuck in indecision. Can I deliver somebody from pleasing people? Folks, listen, you can't please nobody all the time. So at the end of the day, make up in my mind, you know what? I'm going to please God. But I think it's not just being delivered from people pleasing that keeps us from choosing. I think sometimes we just don't see the bigger picture. We got to be able to see where God, I felt that in the Holy Ghost. You got to see the bigger picture about where God is taking you. And there are some people and some activities that exist in your life that can't go with you to the bigger place that God is taking you. You got to be able to ask yourself, can this person really go with me where I'm going? And we have to understand it's okay to say, you know what? I am grateful for everything we were able to do up until this point. But now I got to cut the cord because God is showing me something bigger and something different. And I think so many times we're so interested in not making people feel bad that we don't see the bigger picture to say, look, I'm not anti-you. I just want to embrace where God is about to take me. I'm going to speak this over your life. God is about to take you somewhere so big that not everybody from your past is going to be able to go. And it's okay to make the decision for you to go with God. First thing all I want to say is you got to choose. I have to choose between what God I'm going to serve. Let me minister this and make this relevant for people. It's time to choose if you're going to be healthy or sick. It's time to choose. Are you going to live or die? Okay, I don't have help, but that's all right. It's time to choose. Am I going to have money or be broke? It's time to choose. Am I going to have joy in my life or am I going to be miserable the rest of my life? It's time to choose. Am I going to really be who and what God has called me? Because I want you to understand there is no third option. Either you got money or you don't. Either you're healthy or you're not. Either you have joy with what you're doing with your life or you don't. And I'm just trying to get somebody to say, get off the fence and make a choice what kind of life you're going to live. For y'all married folk, make up in your mind. If you're going to be happy, then be happy. And if you're going to make each other miserable, then figure that out. But get off the fence. I'm going to go ahead and minister to somebody. There's too many married couples out there we just going to be together and we just going to be miserable. That ain't no choice. Make up in your mind, we're going to figure this thing out and have some joy. Make in your mind that when I come home, it's going to be some peace in my house. Make up in my mind that when I come home, it's going to be some joy in this house. Choose is the first thing I want to say to us. We just have to choose. But here's the second thing. Now, this is where it gets a little tricky. After I choose, I need to commit. Woo. Nothing worse than a joker who choose and then act like they didn't choose. If you're going to make a choice, then commit to the choice you made. What does that look like, Pastor? This committing to the choice I make looks like two things. First of all, it looks like my allegiance. Type that in, allegiance. Elijah his command was to follow the Lord. Everybody shout follow. Type that in, follow. God had proven himself to be God. And because God had proven himself to be God, he was the God that deserved their allegiance. The word follow, when he says, choose whom this day whom you will serve. How long will you follow? If the Lord is God, follow him. That word follow simply means walk with him. Preach, Pastor Gailliard. It means live for him. It means serve him. It means honor him. It means walk in his ways. He says, if you really believe he's God, then show some allegiance. When you commit yourself to a man, there ought to be some allegiance. Can I just minister this real quick? It's free out there today. If you commit yourself to somebody, then that means there's allegiance. If there's allegiance, then nobody else should be able to pull them off your arm. Woo-hoo. Preach, Pastor Gailliard. If there's allegiance, nobody else gets to talk bad about them. If there's allegiance, certain things don't get said in your company. See, you can tell folk that's really got allegiance. Because when people have allegiance to other people, then those people who know they have that allegiance recognize there's some things I can't say in their company because there's allegiance there. There's just some folk I'm not going to let you talk bad about in front of me because there's allegiance. There's some things I'm not going to let you say around me because there's allegiance. So you can always tell people that choose and commit, because the committing, it has allegiance. Let me park here for just a hot minute. I'm almost done. God is saying this to us today. How you going to call me master and not obey me? How you going to call me light and not see me? How you going to call me the way and not follow me? How can you call me life and not desire me? How can you call me wise and not acknowledge me? How can you call me rich and not ask of me? How can you call me eternal and not seek me? How can you call me gracious and not trust me? How can you call me noble and not serve me? How can you call me mighty and not honor me? And how can you call me just and not fear me? And if you do all of that, if I condemn you, then don't blame me. Preach, Pastor. There's got to be allegiance. And secondly, when I commit, there's not just allegiance, but there has to be obedience. Allegiance is not allegiance without obedience. Allegiance always results in obedience, and obedience is the evidence of allegiance. Because to follow him is to obey him. It is to submit to his authority, and it is to obey his every desire. Let me ask you this. Whom else would you choose? Who else do you know that has paid the price that he has for us? Whew. Y'all type that in. He's paid a price. I want you to, he didn't just pay any price. He paid it all. When I was growing up in church, all to him I know. Y'all, he paid it all. He's the one that came down from heaven. He's the one that endured poverty and hardship. He was the one rejected by the very people he came to save. Somebody type in, he paid it all. He was the one who was scourged. He was the one who was beaten. He was the one that was spit upon. He did it because he paid it all for you. He was the one mocked. He was the one humiliated. He was the one crucified. He was the one who died. He was the one who loved me. He was the one who called me. He was the one who received me. He was the one who saved me. He was the one who cleansed me. He was the one who adopted me. He was the one who kept me. And because of that, y'all, I owe him. I owe him. He says, choose whom you're going to serve. All I wanted to say to us on this East City Sunday is get off the fence. Some of you been visiting 3 months, 6 months, online for 2 years. Time to get off the fence. Some dating person going to be glad I'm about to say this. Some other dating person not going to be glad I said it, but y'all been dating long enough. It's about time to get off the fence, bro. Sis, it's about time to get off the fence. I mean, come on, it's been 3-4 years. Y'all should know now. Hello, Pastor. Get off the fence. You've been talking about going back to finish your degree, but you won't go back. Get off the fence. You've been talking about committing to a ministry. Get off the fence. You've been talking about getting on the choir. You've been talking about serving in the youth ministry. You've been talking about getting active, politically engaged. You've been talking about it. It's time to get off the fence. And so I want this to be a moment where we really make some choices. Get off the fence. How long are you going to keep saying, I'm going to get healthy, but then I go eat whatever I want? That's him saying, You keep straddling between two extremes. You 1 week you dieting, 1 week you fasting, the next week you eating whatever you want. Get off the fence. He said 1 month you don't miss a Sunday or a Bible study. The next month we don't know who you are, where you are. Get off the fence. 1 month you and your boo just everything to each other. Next month, y'all barely talking to each other. Get off the fence. He's saying what's making you emotionally sick is you won't choose and you won't commit. You keep saying you're going to do more with your time. Then go ahead and do it. What is that thing? Before I give this invitation for you to get saved, I give this invitation for you to join the church. What is that thing you've been on the fence about? Who is that person you've been on the fence about? And all I wanted to say to you today is today, get off the fence. Pick your team. If it's a church, pick your family. Make up in your mind that, you know what, God, I know I'm going to serve you. I'm going to get involved. I'm going to stop complaining about things. I'm going to do something. So I want to give you an opportunity. I want you to talk to each other on your watch parties. If you don't have a relationship with the Lord, I want to see all kinds of links and people typing in saying, hey, I'm at this watch party in Tarboro, and somebody just joined the campus in Tarboro. I'm on this watch party in Pine Tops, and somebody just joined. I'm in this watch party in Charlotte, and somebody is joining the church. I'm in this watch party in the Bronx. Here's one in Philly. Here's one all over Rocky Mount, Wilson, all these communities around us, Zebulon and Nightdale and everything around us. At your watch parties, people saying, you know what, I'm getting off the fence. I'm getting off the fence. I can see it in my spirit. I'm getting off the fence. I'm typing, and that's it. I keep saying I'm going to do it. I don't know what I keep waiting for. I'm going to make up my mind. God been too good for us not to choose him, and too good to us for us not to commit to him. And so today I want to encourage us to get off the fence. Now, that's for salvation. That's for joining the church. You're listening to me, and you don't have a church where you're growing and serving, I want to invite you. I know we're not a perfect church. That church does not exist. But we are a church that's serious about God's kingdom. And we're serious about growing people. And we're serious about serving. And we're serious about being good stewards. You need to be a part of a church that's preaching the word, that's serving God's people, that's growing God's kingdom. So wherever you are, without that church home, click the link. Tell someone at your watch party, hey, I want to join the church. Hey, I want to be saved. We have baptism coming up next month. And so, hey, we'll be ready to baptize you, get you in class. Now, we've made decisions. Here's the last thing I want to do. The last thing I want to do is I want to minister to the overwhelming majority of us who are saved, sanctified, sealed. But I've got an area of my life that I need to commit to. I gotta commit. I need to commit to a ministry. I need to commit to beginning to tithe or commit to being able to give. I need to commit to serve. I need to commit to be faithful. And so if you know, my name is on the roll, but I'm not really committed. Today, I want you to join us in making that decision that I'm going to commit to doing what God has called me to do. So as we prepare to go home, I want to pray for us. And then I want to release us into our watch party, the fellowship portion of our watch parties, and spend some time with each other talking about how am I going to get off the fence so I can be healthier? How am I going to get off the fence so I can commit to my church? How am I going to get off the fence so I can be more faithful in my marriage? How am I going to get off the fence so I can steward my money better or steward my time better? I want us to make that commitment that I'm going to get off the fence.